Hey everyone, welcome to this What to Expect in English 101 preview video. I'm Brian, the host of this little show, and I'm joined today by Ann Hoffman, who is the chair of the English department at FCC. Hi, Ann. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Brian?
I'm good. First off, let me give you who I am. I mentioned I'm in the English department. I've worked in English 101 support for many years at FCC, over 10 years now, and I help instructors teach English 101, and that includes dual enrollment instructors at local high schools. And tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
I've been teaching English for 22 years. I started as a high school teacher, teaching in a couple different states, and I've been at FCC now for 10 years, part-time for a little bit and full-time for 7. I teach 101, 102, and a bunch of other literature classes at the college. And I also help faculty and students just do their best in English and get where they need to be.
So first question then, what is the purpose of this video? Why are students here?
So we decided to make this video so that new students and maybe even new faculty could get a handle on what it is that English 101 is all about, what you study, and also maybe just get you comfortable with thinking about how you're coming to the class and what might be some challenges for you as a student.
Right. I think one of the things we see early on is this sense of being uncomfortable about what the course is and whether or not previous experience is going to sort of carry people through. So yeah, exactly. We want this video to be something that can give people a little bit of information about what they're going to be getting into. Second question, and what do you think the goal of English 101 is? What should students get out of this class?
We aim to have English 101 give you the tools to be a better writer and to be able to be successful in writing in other college classes. So that means learning how to do good research. It means learning how to ask good questions, and also means learning how to go through the writing process in a way that you learn how to make your own writing better, no matter where you're starting as a writer.
I love that part that you said, ask questions and writing process. In my own course, we do a lot of stuff like everybody does, but it basically comes down to 4 points for me. The first one is to ask a question, and that question is going to guide the research. And then the second thing is to do the research and sort of, get into the FCC databases, sort of check out things on the internet, do what the course is asking you to do in that way. And then at that point, after you can't research anymore, you let that evidence help you decide how to answer that question. So it's not about your hunch, it's about what the evidence is telling you. And this is sort of a college research writing process. And then the fourth step is you write it out based on what the evidence tells you. And I think my 101 isn't complicated. It's based on those 4 steps, and we just kind of approach it in different ways. It's always question-based.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's the core of being a college student, is knowing how to ask good questions and knowing how to challenge your own assumptions about what you already know. I like to have students think about what they already know and to start to see themselves as someone who can contribute something to the world through the tools of writing, and eventually speaking a little bit too. But I think it's really important for us to think about the things that matter to us in the world, and then to become really knowledgeable about them so that we can change and shape them. So I have students walk through kind of the same paper the whole semester, looking at it from different angles and really forcing them to think about a lot of their underlying assumptions about problems that they kind of identify in the world.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things about English 101 is a course that allows us to think about the world and the things that are going on in the moment. This last year in my English 101, it's been about fallout related to the pandemic over the course of several sets of essays related to education and how we interact with each other. It's been a real deep dive. And the interesting thing for me was I built in these community building components where even though we were not meeting together, we still had opportunities to meet in class once a week, obviously through the structured remote format, which we're going to talk about in a second. But when students posted in the discussion boards, that was their initial thought on an idea. And then other assignments asked them to go back and look at what their peers said about these different issues, because there was a requirement within the papers eventually to be able to use their peers, their friends, as sources within the essay itself, because there's no better source than somebody experienced a thing firsthand, especially when it comes to pandemic, And so I wanted that immediacy within this particular course in the essays. And then we sort of pepper that around with other, research things that are happening within the databases. And it makes for a very interesting and lively exchange of ideas as we sort of move through it.
And I love the idea of community, because I think that's what a lot of students think when they come into a college class is it's just you and how you perform. This is about us exchanging ideas and
Absolutely.
helping one another become better, and ultimately refining our own skills as well. But yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That whole writing process is key. So we ask questions, we build community, and then we sort of keep going back at it over and over to sort of push our writing through to make it better in the end. And I will say this, in my class, I'm not pushing my students to perfection in any way in terms of the writing. I'm asking them to sort of put words together, to think about what we've studied and take their best shot at it. And then once they take a shot, then we're going to revise again a little bit later on in a portfolio. So there are multiple points along the way that we can sort of figure out and apply the lessons of the course. I got another question here for you, Anne. So we've talked generally about English 101, but the school offers a couple of different versions of English 101s in terms of format. Could you explain some of the formats that are present for students to take English 101?
Sure. So we actually have 4 formats, 3 formats if you're coming to us in the fall of 2021, because we are still in the pandemic. And before I tell you about these 4 formats, very briefly, you need to know you can look more deeply into this on the FCC website. There's information that reviews exactly what I'm going to share. And the second thing is, before you even look at that, think about what kind of learner you are. How do you learn
Absolutely.
best, right? So the first option is face-to-face. That's the traditional, you come to class 2 days a week or 1 day a week, however it's scheduled, and it's you and the professor. The second option is what we call structured remote. And that means that you are at home, but you're plugging into a class as if you were there. Cameras are on, you're engaging with the teacher in real time and with your classmates, and then you do the rest of your work online. The third option is hybrid. So that means that it's a combination of being on campus and with a professor and having some sessions online in real time with your professor in the class. The fourth option is completely online, and that means that you don't meet in person or virtually in real time with your professor or classmates at all.
So, and there are benefits for each. I think you're right to ask students to think about how they learn best. This is key. The last year in the pandemic teaching mode, we've been sort of put into one specific area, and we've been asked to sort of figure out how it works, teachers and students. But now there's a little bit more choice going forward. And I believe that'll be really beneficial for students, for them to figure out what's best for them. Is it on campus? Is it online fully? Is it a mixture of both? So a student can make that choice that will benefit them the most. Finally, the last thing we want to share today in this video has to do with a set of documents. I'm going to let Anne share those really quickly. There are 4 documents, and you'll see that on the screen right now here in just a second. One is a sample syllabus. One is a sample essay rubric. One is a discussion board rubric, and another one's called the Maryland C Standard. We're not going to get into these documents in a lot of detail. We just want to make a reference to them and show you where these things are before we finish the video. And go ahead and share.
I don't have the link up.
Oh, no. How about I do that one? That's the one thing I didn't do today. Way to go, Brian.
I was looking for it as you were chatting, but I couldn't find it. There it is.
There it is.
So I can talk about it now, though. So what we have here, and you can click through it, is just an example of really hard copied examples of what we actually do in the class. So the first thing is a sample English 101 class. That's mine in the structured remote setting, but you can also consider that these are the things that we go through, the way that we take you from day 1 to week 15 and day 30 or whatever that is in the course, and the kinds of assignments that we do. The one thing to keep in mind is that every professor teaches their class a little bit differently than from one another. We don't all teach the class exactly the same way. So while this is how I teach it, and I go through this, I teach the same skills, I might do it a little bit differently than Professor Hyatt would. So it looks like the
You can see my internet's really chugging along today.
it is, but you can still get a sense of what the syllabus is. Basically, this is a plan for the semester. It outlines the grading, it outlines the expectations that we have for you in the course, the participation policy, and then the actual, if Brian scrolls to the bottom here, you can see exactly what we do on every day. So on day one, you can plan out your semester and figure out exactly how you need to plan your time and schedule your time around this assignments that are due.
Yeah, this is extremely important for students to know moving forward. The syllabus, the stuff below what you see on the screen is, all the things that are like sort of, they're not the background parts of the course, but they're the foundation parts of the course. This is, like, as Ann says, the day-to-day stuff. And as faculty members, we're all supposed to be doing this. So we want people to have as much detail as they can in a given moment, so they understand exactly what they need to do on that particular day. And then that will be reinforced in class as well. And as Ann mentioned, some of us do things a little bit differently, and sometimes we're just using different kinds of language. Like Ann uses module, I use workshop, but we're basically talking about the same kind of thing. When we think about English 101 too, this is a writing course, and you're going to be writing academic style papers that are going to be 3 to 4 pages in length each shot. Basically, over the course of the term, we're required to have you write 4,500 words of academic writing. And it takes place in a couple of different ways through essays and annotated bibliographies and journals and discussion boards. So it's all broken up a little bit as a way to sort of help us assess your work in different modes. Does that make sense, Ann?
I think it makes sense. And the one thing I will say, sometimes the syllabi can be really overwhelming to look at. And I just want to encourage students to understand that we get you there. It's like working out. You might only be able to do 2 push-ups today, but if you do push-ups for 15 weeks, you're going to be able to do a lot more. And that's how we build your writing muscles over the course of the semester. So don't be freaked out by looking at all there is to do in the semester. We pace you through it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Every term is 15 weeks. And so also students should know that it's not like we're assigning something and just never talking about it again. We're writing process people, and we're working on this stuff every day in class, and we're connecting, and we're providing assessments, micro assessments along the way to get you to the point where you can turn in that essay for a rough draft or for a final draft later on. So you won't be on your own. We're going to be with you 100% of the way.
I even share my writing, my not great writing, and show you how I have to go through the process too. So we're in it together.
So the last thing I want to share is a sample rubric. This is a text analysis rubric, and English 101 instructors basically draw from documents like this to assess writing. So there shouldn't be anybody who just, writes an A or a B or a C on a paper and then, doesn't say anything after that. It's all going to be based on standards. And so the standard in this rubric is content, organization, style, and mechanics, as you can see. That's one thing all English faculty share in terms of making sure students understand it's not some subjective exercise that people can get mad about if they don't get the grade that they think they deserve. And why wouldn't they get mad? Because, you're putting a lot of time and energy into something and you don't get explanation back. That's worrisome. But the rubric helps us to have a conversation about the writing. And then we can sort of figure out how to make changes from there. Any final words about the rubric or this video, Ann? Because I think we're at the end.
I think the last thing that I just want to encourage everybody to do is to poke around on the FCC website. We actually have faculty who have created videos about how to read a syllabi and a whole orientation for you as a student to digitally go through what it looks like to be a college student. So mostly, I just want you to feel like you can do English 101. And if you have questions about whether you can do English 101, to please seek me out. You can reach me at ahoffman@frederick.edu. And we are here to support you and to help you become strong writers.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal, that's our goal. We want to get you through the class. We want you to learn a few things so you can take that experience and move into other courses and dazzle your other professors and, you know, and then figure out what it means to be the sort of this critical thinking machine in the world. That's our goal. So thank you for watching. Anne, I'll leave the last words to you today.
I just want to tell you that we're really excited to have you at FCC, and are here to support you every step of the way. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Brian.
Thanks for watching. This was fun, Anne. Let's do
It
it again
was.
sometime.
I'd love that.